20 African countries in just 4 weeks. From the kickoff in Cape Town, the American streamer and YouTuber IShowSpeed certainly delivered what his name promises. Zapping from Algeria to Zimbabwe, some of his destinations on the continent were already clearly on the world's agenda, like his surprise appearance at the AFCON final in Morocco, popping out of the costume of the mascot Assad the lion at the final in Rabat. But Benin, well, the attractions of the West African nation weren't on many bucket lists till the content creator from Cincinnati sped into Cotonou, making the capital another stop on his Speed Does Africa tour, which has been praised for presenting a fresh view of the continent's rich cultural heritage, including revelations of his own ancestral links to Ghana and a personal milestone in Nigeria, where our West Africa correspondent Azizat Olaola caught up with the megastar streamer.
He is one of the world's biggest digital stars, and across Africa, the reception for IShowSpeed has been loud. IShowSpeed was welcomed to Lagos by hundreds of young Nigerian fans as he continued his Africa tour, live streaming every moment. The YouTube star celebrated his 21st birthday and a huge streaming milestone, hitting 50 million subscribers online with a cake to the face.
He's been meeting with young people across the state, and many of them have seen him as an iconic figure who inspires them to go into content creation.
IShowSpeed's fans believe his visit is shining a global spotlight on a continent often misunderstood, and part of his appeal is how he interacts. Unscripted, instinctive, and close to the people around him.
I saw this stream, my friend just texted me and he told me that, oh, this stream is happening. And I immediately started running and I started tracking over him. I was looking at him to come here. I'm still happy at the moment. I'm standing outside. I'm not too far from him.
It inspires everybody as a black person to want to do better, and also evidence that you can actually be what you put your mind to.
IShowSpeed started out posting video game clips, and now, 10 years later, he is one of the most influential digital creators on the planet. Named the US magazine Rolling Stone Creator of the Year and worth an estimated $20 million, according to Forbes. IShowSpeed was treated like royalty at every stop.
As content creators in Nigeria are coming here to meet up with IShowSpeed, who is inside. We can't go close to him because his bodyguards do not want media crew around him because he's streaming and they don't want anything to mess up his streaming. However, the mood here among young people in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, has been indescribable. They say that he inspires them, and oh my God, you can just imagine how it is right here. Everybody's just moving around everywhere. And behind me, there are lots of activities and movements going on. People want to see IShowSpeed, and he's been moving to one location or the other across Lagos. And all I can tell you is that IShowSpeed feels right at home in Africa.
Many have described IShowSpeed's Africa tour as not just travel content or entertainment, but a much-needed exposure for Africa and its youth. And importantly, showing a different view of the continent.
I'm excited that a young black African is here in Nigeria to highlight some of the good things about Nigeria to the world. I mean, a 21-year-old young person. So his presence here would also inspire so many young people to be able to follow their path and, just push for whatever they believe in. And maybe you never can tell, you'll be a world sensation as well.
And today's crowds say it all. Africa's digital community is ready for its moment on the global stage.
So, what did Speed do for Africa? We're going to get Sharon Machiri's take on this. She's a travel journalist and digital content creator based in Nairobi. It's great to have you on the program, Sharon. So, IShowSpeed's Africa tour, it generated huge buzz. Now that the dust has settled, so to say, and having reflected upon it all, how would you sum it all up?
How would I sum it all up? I would say it was about time. I think it was about time that the world got to see the Africa that I, for one, experienced, I write about as a travel journalist. Because I think what he did, and I want to speak to the power of platform as someone who's worked in tech and someone who's been a journalist for over a decade. The power of this entire thing is when technology democratizes media. If this was not being live streamed on, on a streaming app, I don't think it would have the effect that we've seen today. And so I think it was about time that the narrative about Africa was allowed to be, told through people that are not gatekeepers, people who don't particularly have an agenda. This kid was just trying to have a good time and stream it to his friends. And the result of that was people got to see Africa in its true, purest form, which is full of vibes, full of community, full of humor, and just full of hospitality.
Yeah, and you're right about the fact that people got to see the Africa that we experience on a daily in our cities. But can we already get a sense, Sharon, of what the real impact, so to say, of the streaming tour has been? Are there gains that can already be counted?
I think massively. I mean, from just what I've seen online, I saw this entrepreneur. So she's in Ghana and she runs a museum of shea butter. And I think it was one of the more popular, I mean, everything he did was super popular, but it was one of the more popular places he visited. And they posted that ever since he went on this live stream and had this incredible massage by all these Ghanaian women with like shea butter. Apparently, the museum has now had bookings all the way from January through to March this year. So to me, that is a powerful example of what happens when, when this kind of impact is trickles down to the actual people.
And just staying on that point then, can local content creators achieve the same thing, Sharon? Would they get the same kind of traction that IShowSpeed got?
I mean, it's different, right? I think local content creators speak to a completely different context. IShowSpeed had the backing and support of like government, right, and policymakers. I think local content creators, the lesson they can borrow from this is the power of authenticity. What IShowSpeed did was just be true to himself. Like, he was not trying to be anybody else but himself. It made a few people uncomfortable because he's so raw. But I think local content creators, a lot of the time, they try to emulate the creators that they see from the West, trying to package themselves differently. And so I think the lesson to learn there really is how to be authentic with who you are, whether you're from Ghana, Kenya, Mozambique, just be yourself, and that's going to resonate with the world.
Yeah, and I guess, we're talking about the Africa tour and all that, the continent has benefited. You talked about the Shea Butter Museum in Ghana. But it was also good for IShowSpeed himself, right? He got millions of views on his videos, even reaching the 50 million subscribers milestone. How else did this tour benefit the streamer IShowSpeed himself?
Great question. I think it benefited him massively. I think beyond his career trajectory, when you watch his final drop the mic moment and him kind of concluding the whole thing, he talked about it changing him fundamentally as a person. And that is the power of traveling to the continent. I think a lot of it is in the unspoken ways with which we accept visitors and people come here and feel at home. But just to speak on the piece about his career trajectory and what it's done for him specifically as a streamer, Africa has one of the biggest populations of young people in the world. So for anybody who's looking to be a content creator, if you're not thinking about building content that speaks to an African audience, I think you're losing out, because at the end of the day, content is about visibility and it's about reach and it's about speaking to as many people as possible. Where are all these many people? They're on the continent. So I think that's how it benefited him, by speaking to a continent that has so many people ready to listen and consume his content.
And perhaps a final thought, Sharon, what did you notice or note about how cities in Africa can improve the experience for tourists who are keen to spend some time exploring life and culture in our cities? I mean, this was not about, showing all sides of Africa. As you said it, the streamer came to have a good time, which he did. But as you're looking as a travel journalist, what did you pick up about ways that we can improve the experience for people who just want to experience a day in our cities?
So what I will say is that traditionally, travel on the continent has been framed through safari. You know, you fly into the capital city of whatever country, and then you're quickly shipped off into the bush. And while going on safari is incredible, you know, natural capital is something we have in plenty on the continent, but that's just one side of it. And that's been a narrative that for a long time has been benefiting, you know, your sort of white colonial settlers. What IShowSpeed Tour has done, and I think an incredible takeaway for people in the travel agencies, people that are curating these trips for visitors, he spent a lot of time in African cities. Like it was not just a quick stopover. Like he was engaging with like street culture, you know, contemporary urban culture, and that's what made it so interesting. And so I think what we can draw from this is that there is so much to do in African cities. Your safari, your trip to Africa doesn't have to just look like you sort of cosplaying as a colonizer out on safari. It can look different, and that's what the success of IShowSpeed has shown. And it's put a spotlight on African cities and the cool stuff that happens within these spheres.
Oh, perfectly said. Thanks so much for that, Sharon. Appreciate it. Sharon Machiri there, travel journalist and digital content creator. Thank you.